The Ottawa Senators qualified as the second wild card in the Eastern Conference this spring and were promptly eliminated in 4 straight in the opening round by the Carolina Hurricanes. Neil, when we came into this season and we looked at them in our summer coolers last August, one of the things that we pulled out was that they were going to clearly need more goal scoring because they did not have a 30-goal scorer in 24-25, only scored 243 goals as a team. And this season, they did get a couple of 30-goal scorers with Tim Stützle, Drake Batherson, both eclipsing that mark, and Dylan Cozens had 28 overall. The team improved by 35 goals, 278, and their goal differential went up from +9 to +32. So right there, some positives for Ottawa for this season.
Absolutely. They had to do that to get themselves into the playoffs. There's also the fact that Stützle is now coming into his real part of his career where he's matured and he'll become whatever he can become, he's going to become in the next few years. Batherson the same way. They've got a lot of young players on this team that are all maturing at once, and that's what they've got to hope for, is that they all get good at the same time.
On the negative side, the Senators' penalty killing dropped from 19th a year ago to 29th, and they were 31st on the road out of 32 teams at 70.1%. Now, their goaltending, this was very interesting because they were 13th in goals against average, but they were among the worst in save percentage. So what that's telling you is they didn't give up a ton of goals. They didn't give up a ton of shots, but shots that were getting through were making it into the net. However, this got better as we got closer to the playoffs. And of course, earlier in the year, you had Linus Ullmark, their number one, taking time off for personal leave. Backup Levi Merzlikins was not as good as he was a year ago, and they brought James Reimer in to be the backup in the latter part of the year. But in addition to the goaltending, a ton of injuries with this club that they had to really soldier through the entire year. Brady Tkachuk, the thumb at the start of the season, and I think that happened in the second game. And then that defense was just decimated, particularly at the end of the season, and that carried right into the first round of the playoffs.
I talked to Travis Green, and the one thing he talked about late in the regular season was the fact that they had so many injuries on defense. He said it starts with the goaltender missing time, and then you go to missing guys on defense. Their 2 best defensemen are Jake Sanderson, who missed 15 games, and Thomas Chabot, who missed 25 games. Spence only missed 9 games, and Arten Zub, who's a real good defenseman, missed only 1 game. Then you have Kleven, who missed 12, and Jensen missed 21.
Yep.
So, if Sanderson, Chabot, Jensen, and Kleven are all out at the same time at any point, or any 3 of those 4, you're really in trouble. And that's what I think they faced a lot of nights. And that's also maybe why so many pucks were going in at certain times, because they just weren't sound defensively with this kind of a depleted defense core.
At the end of the day, though, that goal scoring, which did improve this year, really couldn't crack Carolina. And they competed hard in that series, but they didn't have the depth or the execution to put up more of a fight against Carolina than they did.
No, and in fairness, you're talking about one of the elite teams in the league in Carolina. Let's face it, they're up there with the very best, and they just couldn't compete with them. If it was, going out in the alley and fighting, they could probably do that with Carolina, but they couldn't do it on the ice. They didn't have the offensive prowess that the Carolina Hurricanes have, and it was a sweep for the Hurricanes, and look towards next year for Ottawa.
So let's do that. And the work ahead for them. In this draft, they have 7 picks, none in the second round. That was sent to Arizona in order to acquire Jakob Chychrun in 2023. And of course, Chychrun is now down in Washington. They also have none in the 7th round, that pick going to the Colorado Avalanche. They do own 3 picks in round number 3, however. Their own and pick from Florida in the Vlad Tarasenko deal in 2024, and the Kings pick, which also brought them Warren Fogle. They currently have $2.34 million in cap space, and of course that will go up once the reset takes place on July 1st. Their UFAs, Claude Giroux, Lars Eller, and Nick Cozens up front, Nick Jensen, Dennis Gilbert, and Lassi Thomson, who's a Group 6 on defense, and goaltender James Reimer, who we mentioned before. Their RFAs, forward Stephen Halliday, defenseman Jordan Spence, and goaltender Levi Merzlikins. So, a lot with the goaltending and defense here that needs to be cleaned up by GM Stephen Staios.
Absolutely. He's going to have to get a lot of people re-signed. He'll look first at the restricted free agents, I'm sure, and get Jordan Spence re-signed, and then he'll decide whether or not Claude Giroux comes back for another year. He's a native and certainly is taking a hometown discount to continue his career, but whether they'll want him to or not is another question. Lars Eller may be done for now in his career, and you go on from there. So that the unrestricted free agents, it's anybody's guess on that. And there's other people out there, or will be out there, that might give them a bit of an upgrade from who they had this past season.
I have a hard time believing that Giroux would want to play anywhere else, and also him being a former captain. But let's also talk about their current captain, Brady Tkachuk, who for the last 2 years now has been the subject of trade rumors. He's got 2 more years on his contract remaining at $8.2 million. So even though Tkachuk denies these rumors are taking place, the clock is ticking here, almost the same way it is in Connor McDavid, who also has 2 years left on a deal that he's just restarting with the Edmonton Oilers. And at what point do you start to look at this and say, you know what? Brady Tkachuk could bring a ton back if we are looking to retool a team. So if you're Steve Staios here, how are you moving forward with your captain?
Well, you're never going to stop the trade rumors until he's re-signed with Ottawa. That's just the way it is. He's got 2 years to go. And when we get to this time next year, now the heat will really be on because it'll only be 1 year to go and then he can walk. So if you're Steve Staios, you just keep talking to people, letting them show their interest, letting them set the market as to what you would get for him. Don't forget that he is an American, played for Team USA in the Olympics this year, is playing in Ottawa, Canada. He doesn't want to be there. I'm not suggesting that, but I'm just saying there's a lot more American teams than there are Canadian teams. He may want himself to be in the United States. Maybe he wants to be in Florida with his brother, but I can't see Florida putting together another package to attract the brother. So as I said, Vic, they're never going to stop until he's re-signed. The trade rumors are just going to go on because he's the crown jewel of the team. So he either re-signs or you wait and see if he moves somewhere else.
Is there something additional to his value that he, as you just said, the crown jewel, the face of the franchise, which not every captain across the NHL is?
No, they're not. And he's like one of the Sutter brothers, Brian Sutter, let's say, who played in St. Louis and played so well for them and was the face of their franchise. I mean, he's like Matthew Tkachuk, his brother, who plays down in Florida. I mean, Matthew's not the captain, but he's certainly a part of the face of that franchise. And there are a lot of people who are just an in-your-face type captain. Tkachuk is one of them for sure. I've only heard good things about him in the locker room and with his teammates. It would be a hard thing to do in Ottawa and in that market, but when you're running a team, you have to listen and think about everything. You can't take anything off the table.